This is Patrick, and I have James with me to commentary on Game 2 from Adepticon, where I played Nathaniel. So I am the playing Eric's 2 wargs, and then 2 trackers. Both of the wargs are the waxing ones, the one with Implacable 2, but I use 2 different models just to keep them straight, and I also use the 2 different cards as well, just so I don't have to mark my cards or anything like that. James, do you have Nathan's list that you could maybe rattle off for the viewers?
I do. So Nathaniel was playing Alchemists of Dirz. He had Ajahn de Jamir, I think is the pronunciation. 51-point baseline leadership Dirz character, I believe. The Nemesis Beast, which is a 182-point monstrosity. And a Shadow, which we found out after the tournament, so I apologize that I did not catch that it was a Shadow and therefore not allowed. We had 2 Scurry's Warriors, 1 Dirz Tiger, that is the non-Tiger of Shamir, just the 51-point guy with no mutagenic, and then 3 Dawn Warriors was his list.
Yeah, and I think that's the new Sir. I can't pronounce the Cernernian company. What do you know how to pronounce that? It's a new model that just got put out, and everything that they're putting out. I think they did a couple of Wolfen as well. Just gorgeous looking models.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's a new cast, new model that just got released, and it looks gorgeous. So sorry if I got the name butchered or wrong. But yeah, so moving up here, there's a tracker that is off the screen to the right as well. It's on the other side of that hill. Sorry for the camera angles here. The way Adepticon is played is that there's 2 tables pushed together, and then there's just like lunch table things all the way down. So setting these up and making sure you can see it, you're kind of standing on a chair looking over and kind of saying, yeah, that looks kind of right. So again, apologize for any views here, but he moved up a couple of Dawn Warriors. I started with Eric's. She is coming up and she's casting out the Fire Elemental. I rolled ridiculous on my incantation, rolled 2 6s, decided to roll up the first one, but didn't roll up the second one. Because I needed a 4+ to even push it up to the next level, and I thought that was being a little bit too greedy. So that's the first time I've ever done that. And then she Arcane Masteries out Shackles on this warg. This is a spell where any attacks against that model treats 2s as 1s, where they'll automatically fail, unless they have an ability like Fine Blade that makes them not fail automatically. So that's Eric's activation. Again, I was really afraid. I know Mutagenic is on there with movement. I think he's 15, so these, I don't think he has a mutagenic die in his Tiger, but the big Shadow up there at the top definitely did. And he decided to roll his mutagenic right away every time to kind of get the value. I'm not a Dirz player, but I don't think that
I can tell you
that. You can do that, right? But it's
you absolutely can. No, it's a great idea. I can tell you as a Dirz player, especially with those pricey models, you want to roll your mutagenic at the start of the turn, so that you don't commit and find out you have no mutagen.
Got it.
So if you get like a low roll or you roll a 1 and you fail and you're getting nothing, you make an educated choice about where to put your model. It would be horrible to charge something big in like a declone at 90 points and then find out your stats aren't going up that round and be overcommitted and then get crushed.
Yeah.
The regular Tigers of Dirz at 51 actually, in my mind, famously don't have the mutagenic rule, so they don't get access to those dice. And they don't help you maintain your mutagenic dice pool.
Oh, okay. I did not know
it's
that.
An issue with those models, in my opinion. They have some good abilities, but I think it's one of the reasons everybody likes the Tiger of Shamir.
Got it. Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So that's probably the reason why he didn't put because it's not a Shamir Tiger. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just moved up my trackers here, took some pot shots. Again, just trying to figure out and get in a little bit closer to what he's going to do with that Shadow. I definitely don't want to put a work down. So Nathan comes in here and then he commits with this Tiger. And this is where I start to wonder, okay, are things going to get interesting here, and are we going to end the game pretty quickly?
Yeah, when you have 2 low model count armies like this with a lot of elite models, I mean, the game is going to be over. It's really high risk, high reward. I think it's probably a lopsided matchup favoring Patrick to start, just in the sense that there's almost nothing in the game. There probably is nothing in the game that costs equal to or less than a warg that can keep up with it. So if you look at like a black troll for 80 points, a fire elemental for 75, a behemoth troll at around 70, or Cadwallon ogres at 60, they all cost a little less, and they just can't get the same work done. So
Yeah.
it's really, really tough if you have a low model list and you're facing down 2 wargs.
Yep. Yeah. So here I'm debating, and by the way, the scenario we're playing is burn them all. So we each designated in secret our torchbearer that can light the house on fire. And so I hemmed and hawed there because my torchbearer is that warg that just went. And putting him in there, definitely I knew I was putting him in range of the shadow. And if he would have killed him, then I'm pretty much down.
Down a
One
torch.
VP, right? Down.
Yeah,
Well,
you gotta.
I can't. You can't. Right.
Yep.
So I can't win 3 VPs. But I
Yeah.
decided overall, you know what? I don't know how he doesn't commit the shadow here. So I was expecting this, and now I can commit the other warg, and
Yep.
I'll have essentially numbers here, right? 3 versus
Yeah.
2. So yeah, I actually wrap him around. So hopefully, um, you know, we'll trade here, and I'll be left with 1 warg, and he'll have nothing. Is what my thought was, and
Yeah, it's
hopefully it's my warg with the torch.
particularly punishing for Nathaniel because your army has more tricks than he does. And the thing that would make the Nemesis Beast difficult to deal with is that it's Fear 10 Dreadful. However, wargs are Fear 10 with Born Killer. They auto pass that test without even having to roll dice.
Right.
So one of his biggest defenses is useless against them.
Yep. Yep. So I think that's everything activated, and then he is splitting phrase. So I think he decides that he wants to 2v1 the warg, which I thought about this a lot. At first when he did it, I thought that was the right call. But and then he goes with the tiger first. But I think if he would have done 1-on-1 with the warg and then 2v1 on the tiger, he kills the warg and then pursuits into the other warg, 1v1s that one, and
Yes.
and then I think he actually would have had a strong case to kill both. This way, he's 1v1ing my elemental first, and I think if maybe he got a little bit backwards and thought, oh, I'll split this warg off, and maybe like then he'll get the 1-on-1. I don't know. I guess I'd like to follow up with him and get his thought process on this.
Yeah, his
But
tiger was definitely not favored to win that fight. They have the same resilience, but the tiger's only strength 9 and the elemental's a 14.
yeah,
And they both have 3 or 4 dice, so it's probable that the elemental's killing the tiger.
yeah, his
Or that
res,
if the tiger goes into somebody else with a pursuit, he's going and critted and definitely getting killed.
yeah. There's me hitting legs, right, and rolling, a 6, but still only doing serious wound. And there he rolls double 5, which puts me on crit. So yeah, we both war fury on this. He got 4 dice with Brutus Charge. I got 3. I walk him up to a crit here, I believe. Let me roll the dice, Patrick. Yep. Yeah, another leg shot. And then yeah, he just finishes me off there. And then yeah, this is always one that is you're on crit, right? Do you pursuit into this and try to do a damage to the warg, or I guess what would you have done here with this tiger, with him, limping along?
I honestly would have peeled away. I mean,
Yeah,
once he split the fray that way, and then his tiger was on crit, this was never going to go well for him. I mean, unless the tiger got lucky and went fresh into a warg, I don't see how it was going to survive. Like the tiger would have had to get lucky, blast out the elemental with a headshot or double 6, or you miss him. And the tiger needs to be fresh when it goes into the wargs, or it's just not surviving.
right.
And
I've
at
made
crit,
that mistake
there's just no
too,
way.
Yeah. I mean, I made that mistake hundreds of times as well, where you just you're like, well, I want to keep killing, right? This is my piece that is supposed to kill things, and so you pursued into something that's fully healthy, and you're rolling -3 on your initiative roll, and oh, you lost, and then you just get a wet paper towel does you over, essentially. But yeah,
Once you get
definitely.
critted, you really don't ever want to go into anybody who's fresh, and you even want to be leery about going into somebody who's getting teamed up on, because you're giving them the die that they're going to use to kill you with. Crit's a rough place to be.
Yeah.
If possible, I like to take critted models and go do objectives with them, because they can still run at full speed, put a counter on something, move a pillar, whatever.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
add on to initiative, right? And maybe win with another model, and then it can walk a wound up or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I won initiative. I put 2 and 1 in both. He went 3 attack, 1 defense. I hit first, and I rolled double fives. Which this
Oh,
is, yeah, this is the dice
I
we
mean,
had. I was, unfortunately, Nathan was really great about it.
yeah.
We were both cheering for each other. And this is just one of those games where, as we said earlier, 2 super elite lists.
Hmm.
Once one gets up early, it's kind of downhill from there.
Yeah. And
But
with the tiger and the nemesis beast out like that, that's 233 points, I think. So
yeah, yeah,
that's you just don't come back from that in turn one. I did
yeah.
want to take a minute to talk about Nathaniel, if you don't mind, because I played with him in a narrative scenario, and he was just a real pleasure to play with. Super positive guy, just great to be around. And I wanted to, hear about your. I'm sure you had a great experience with him playing, right?
Oh yeah, he was a great guy, and his models are beautifully painted. I believe he took second in the painting contest. I know this video doesn't do it justice, but yeah, he has a really nice looking models here. Um, Something I actually, going back to that fight, double fives, I actually killed him outright. But that is actually an enormous model, and it
Mhm.
has a 5th wound level. So he was actually on the, we put him to whatever the double crit level, and then the
Yeah.
other warg finished him off from that. So yeah,
What a bloody
like I
turn
said,
one. That's unbelievable.
yeah, yeah, great event overall. A lot of people just celebrating. I think my game one, I was playing Steven, who played mid north,
Mid-Nor. Yep.
and he didn't have a war staff or anything, so his courage was like, I think around the 4 to 6 range, right? And I have
Hmm.
2 wargs at fear 10 and Eric's at fear 9, and I don't think he failed. I think he failed maybe one courage test the entire game. He was just
Yeah.
rolling, needing 4, 5, 6s at times to pass fear checks, and he was making them all day. And it just you just have to laugh at it when that
Absolutely.
happens. But
Yeah. I know I was super surprised to find out she had a Fear 9, and I gotta say that's an amazing fear rating on a caster, especially. At Fear 9, you really start to pull away from people, and they're just not going to charge you on 2s anymore. They're going to start needing 3s, 4s, 5s, and
right.
it will paralyze armies. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, his 2 models on the lower left that are together approaching your house,
Hmm.
are those Scories Warriors?
They are, yeah, and
Yeah.
so something here that I stopped him from doing. He activated them, and then he actually removed the scout tokens. He wasn't aware that with scout you just remain being a scout until you either someone reveals you by getting within 10 centimeters of you, or if you engage someone, or if you take an action like casting a spell or getting shot. So that's those 2 white beads. They're still um, in scout form essentially. My
Yeah.
wargs do have consciousness, but that's still 20 centimeters, so they're still not revealed over there,
Yep.
which is a problem. So actually, in this list, I think in this turn, I go first to tie up his caster with the warg there.
Hmm.
Oh, actually, that's not his caster. I'm sorry, that's a Dawn warrior. What happened there? Actually, I'm not. Oh, we're already in. Hmm, I'm not sure what that was about. But yeah, he followed up here, still stealth, playing on the objective. I think that you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you light the house on fire, it's immediate. We should have removed it at this point, right? That reveals stealth, or do you not know?
Uh, oh no, I'm pretty sure you can't carry a torch if you're scouting. So,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. So maybe
yeah,
there's another thing that we got wrong.
yeah.
Always learning in this game, right? The game's been
But
out for how
yes,
long? And
when you touch the house, yeah, it gets 1 fire token immediately, and then the fire builds during the maintenance phase.
got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so pleased that you had remembered that you had consciousness on your wargs. Obviously, it didn't come into play here,
Yeah.
but I know when I was looking at him, it was kind of a hidden thing I discovered about them. It's wrapped, it's bundled into the Being of Destiny, right?
Mhm.
Into
Yes.
the
Yep.
Being of
That is
Destiny
their.
rules, the benefit
Yep.
they get.
Yeah, that is the benefit from being a being of destiny.
Yeah,
Is
and
consciousness.
with their speed and how much they cost and everything, it's just a great extra ability that they get that can be phenomenal. being able to unveil scouts from that far away, because they can really, assault one part of the board, reveal scouts pretty far away, and that will enable trackers to go get them, or enable Erics to blast them with spells, that kind of thing.
Yep. So yeah, what I did over there is I activated Eric's first, just walked her over there. She actually failed her arcane recovery roll. That's why she has no gems on her. But I did try to mastery out a shackles. I'm pretty sure I was short. Walked her over there to reveal those 2 scouts, and that allowed my wolf my warg to charge them then.
Great.
Over here, my tracker is taking a shot, and yeah, there's a double 5 again, I think, putting his incarnate in the dirt. Unfortunately, yeah, like I said, there's some games in Confrontation that just get unfairly decided based on the dice. And this is one of those games. I felt really bad for Nathaniel.
I looked up the incarnate's name. It's Aban Jameer. He's a 51 point. Yeah.
Got it. And the
other
thing,
I think he's a Dawn Warrior leader, actually. Go ahead.
No, the other thing I forgot is that warg actually caused that Dawn Warrior to flee, the one up north. So that's why I was confused why we picked up that model after activating the warg. I totally forgot that I caused him to route, and he ran towards that edge of the board, because I kind of did like a S maneuver charge at him to come in from the side. So, and then he followed up. And we actually, I think I caused 2 models to fear maybe or something like that. And I kind of lost track of how much movement he actually used, because you're always supposed to measure first, do the fear check. And I always forget, I always base them, and now we do fear right. And then it's like, well, I forgot how much. So I just kind of like left him there. And I was like, he has more movement left, but I really don't know what it is. So, kind of.
Yeah, for anybody looking at Alchemists, you really got to be careful. The clones do not have high courage. So they have fear problems.
Yeah, so here, kill the... nope, So here's a good example of, with 3 dice against a Scorzy warrior, this warg just whiffed an attack and then hit legs and then walked it up to a crit. So happens quite often. But there's my water bottle just blocking the bottom of the screen.
The problem he's facing, though, is he really has no answer to the war, right? Like,
yeah.
Although I guess he's going to build up some fire counters, but with 2 Force 2 models, we were talking about this when we were discussing our Border Wars round. Border Wars doesn't give you benefit for high force models, but this scenario does. So he's going to have 2 Wolfen models applying 4 force toward putting out that house if he needs to, which is pretty solid.
Yep. Yeah, I felt very insecure here. Actually, the part of my mind that I was worried about the most at this point is I still haven't lit his building on fire. And I need to be careful that I don't make things run off the board or kill everything before I complete that objective. So I was actually kind of worried that something bad would happen, and somehow I'd end the game early by killing all the models or getting them to flee. So,
for anybody who's not aware, in Confrontation, whenever the last model on either side is killed, the game ends instantly, and you check victory conditions. So occasionally, players who are just wrecking ball, taking a wrecking ball to their enemy, can kill them too soon and then end the game before they can lock down all their victory conditions.
Yeah, and this tower too in the middle, I didn't read the scenario packet as well as I should have. I think that I'm basing it to control it, but I think it's anything within 10 centimeters, just how much force you have. Is that correct?
You are correct, recall? Yeah.
Yep. So I played that incorrectly. That's why my tracker's just setting up shop, trying to throw spears at people. But
you've really got the tower on lockdown. You're good.
Yeah.
And for anybody who isn't familiar, in Burnham Mall, you get a victory point for making sure your house is not on fire at the end of the game, making sure your opponent's house is on fire at the end of the game, and then for control of the tower. That's a 10 centimeter radius around the tower. You want to have more force and AP in order to control it. So if you have one really expensive model, your opponent can run another man-sized model, or in the Wolfen's case, a large model. And even though it costs less, it's the same force. You no longer control it. You don't score it.
Yep. Yeah, so here's where the warg makes this guy fear. And then I tell myself, I can't make this third guy fear, because if he runs off the board, I'm done for. So this is where I go, okay, I need to go on this house and light the house on fire. So just staring down that last Dawn Warrior that's up there on the top. Yeah, I think that, we're playing UK Core 2009 scenario packet. All great scenarios, some better than others, but do you have a favorite, James, that you like to play?
My favorite scenarios are typically wideboard scenarios. This tournament actually featured two that I really like. I'm a huge fan of Burn 'em All, and I'm a huge fan of Border Wars because they give you a lot of real decision making to make. It's one of the things I like about wideboards is you have to spread your army out so much. Mobility really adds value in those scenarios. And as a mid-nor player, I can say that I don't have a lot of mobility, but I love seeing games that reward things aside from high strength and resilience.
Yeah, and you
Um,
make up for it in Midnor with your numbers, right?
oh yeah,
So
for sure. Just by having models everywhere, even if they're not fast. So Burn 'em All I really liked. Border Wars I really liked, and I'd say one of my other favorites is Three Bridges. I think that's just an outstanding scenario. We didn't play it, but hey, I played 2 out of 3 scenarios that I adore, so it's great. Arclash Pigeon's fun too, but Burn 'em All and Border Wars are great. And Three Bridges is probably one of my other all-time favorites. I
yeah, no,
really like Gimme the Cash as well. It's a narrow board scenario, but I'm a huge fan.
yeah, no, I really like that one as well. I think
Yeah.
as I'm beginning to play through all of them, there's still a couple Dark Tower, really interesting but really complex.
hmm
I think that's what it's called, where you kill the graves and stuff like that. And there's or maybe that's the amulet one. There's another amulet
Yeah, the
one.
Hero's Grave or something like that. Dark Tower, actually, I'm a big fan of. I think it's underrated. I think the Grave ones, Hero's Grave or whatever it's called, in the Dark Tower are often people don't want to play them maybe because they're kind of finicky and they have these extra elements. But I do think that they're good scenarios.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I haven't played them. But
Yeah.
when I was going back to Three Bridges, actually,
hmm
um, I there is something where I don't like that Three Bridges is just determined by the end state of the game, right?
hmm
I think that they're the scenarios where you can make progress early and then
hmm
kind of go up early and then ride the coattails. It just adds another dynamic and different way to play.
Sure.
Kind of playing around with like tempo versus control versus kind of like almost those ideas that are in a card game.
hmm
Kind of I think that's scenarios are the application for that in miniature games of, hey, how can I apply my army and what it likes to do. Um, to these objectives, and that's something that's
hmm
kind of I think newer games are starting to do with it, but a lot of my gaming has been in War Machine and stuff, and a lot of those are just around controlling things. They're not as interactive, right? That's
hmm
something I think Confrontation has really aids itself to and has done really well.
Yeah. If I might play devil's advocate, I don't mind that Three Bridges is determined by the end state of the game at all. Simply because you spent the whole game getting there, right? So it's kind of like nothing. It's even one thing I like about it, right? You don't have to look at counters. You don't have to do any extra bookkeeping or anything. You just move the models around the field, and then who comes out on top is purely based on positioning and how you've done tactically throughout the game. There's no mistakes with that one, right? Like there's no,
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad scenario. I just think that certain scenarios like that are definitely um, needed, right, for armies that excel well at holding, right. I think of like Tyranid Boar or things that can really stack Resil and just get stuck in and are hard to remove.
Uh huh.
I think that it's really good that certain scenarios highlight different factions and different armies. um, yeah, and I would have to agree with you there. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to say it's a bad scenario or anything like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Just I think for the armies I play, right, probably
hmm
super biased that I prefer ones that you can interact more and get up
hmm
early on. So
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I get that. And at this point, really, Nathaniel's been on the ropes since turn one, and so at this point, you guys are just doing the closing moves of the game here. Patrick is just locking down his 3-0 positioning, and then Nathaniel's fighting with what he's got left.
Yep. Yeah, so we cleared out those 2 scorer warriors on my own building. Both the Warg and Eric's are force 2, so he got it up to force 4 on the fire. But I immediately put that out in 1 turn. So I think there's a yellow die still marking it, but that really should be removed. My house is out, and I'm going to pull my army pretty much to the other side to kind of close out the game.
Yeah.
And I think that Nathan kind of sees the writing on the wall and just short comes it and shakes my hand as well.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, yeah, I think we
Yeah.
can be anyone that wants to watch the finishing up. Feel free to do so. But I think is there any last comments that you want to give, James?
Just that I think the scenario is great. If anybody hasn't tried Burn 'em All, you really should. It's gives you a lot of interesting tactical choices to make, especially with all of that space to manage. And Nathaniel is a great guy. I look forward to seeing him at the next Adepticon. And Patrick, you played the scenario very well. I'm sorry I didn't get to see the dice rolls. It must have been a battle of titans with the Nemesis beast.
Yeah, I wish it was a little bit more bloodier. I think it would have made for a lot closer and funner game for both Nathaniel. But that's the dice give it, and the dice take it away at some time. So,
Indeed.
all right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Enjoyed the last couple minutes here of the game. Otherwise, next time we'll catch you on the streets.